Well, hello, everybody. Big warm welcome to you. And so sorry I missed you last week. And so we're back. We're back. And so we're going to have another week or so of classes. And then April 3rd through the 6th, many of us will be meeting in Sedona for our next in-person retreat. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if there's any last minute stragglers that want to join, hit me up. Hit me up. Just send me an email and I'll send you the details about our next in-person meeting. And then after that, we have a retreat, another in-person retreat at Kripalu, July 13th through the 18th. Of course, this is 2025. And so there's details for that one on my website and at kripalu.org. Okay. And I'll probably do a online retreat, in the beginning of June or the end of May, something like that. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there's any other things I need to announce. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For those who are new to the Sangha, if you join the Fully Human, Fully Divine Facebook page, we have a lot of student-run groups, and those are great ways to connect and meet with other students and share in the light, and a lot of beautiful things going on here. Okay. I think that's everything. So let us start tonight with our eyes open. And I'm going to invite you just to look around the room that you're in, the space that you're in. And what I would like you to notice is the space that is in your room, the space that's in your home. If you're outside, the space of the sky. And all day long, our mind looks at and focuses in on these objects that fill up the space. But I invite you just to see the space and to see if you can feel this quality of peace, this quality of openness that is right here. And you can even imagine, like wherever your heart is, your heart might be in New York City or Asheville or Pennsylvania, or a couple people in Colorado here. Maybe you're up in BC or somewhere. I want you to feel how much space is between you and I. Of course, I'm here in Colorado, the Southwest. And I invite you to feel how much space is between us. And yet at the same time, if you are in your heart, see if you can notice a quality of intimacy, a quality of connection. And so in the non-dual realms of awakening, we begin to open up to this experience of seeing and feeling, of perceiving space everywhere. And at the same time with that, a quality of intimacy, of closeness. And anytime we go out and we just look out at the hugeness of the night sky and we see these stars that are millions and millions of light years away, there's this sweet feeling of hugeness mixed with intimacy and awe. And as we begin to open in this way, as we begin to perceive in this way, our human experience, it changes in a great way, in a massive way. And so again, just noticing the space in your room, in your home, the space of the sky, the space of creation. And again, with this space, we see, well, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. And in that, a lot of it is a feeling of infinite magnitude. And when you open to it energetically and mentally and even emotionally, there's this great feeling of relief. There's room for all of us. There's room for all of us. And there's room for anything to happen. For anything to arise and anything to fall away. And within this all-inclusive openness, is this experience of what we call peace. Peace. Peace arises from allowing everything. Allowing everything. And not fighting with anything. And as we open into this, again, we feel an openness, a spaciousness, a vastness, a magnitude, a sense of infinity and awe. Great sense of peace, a sweetness and intimacy. All this from simply sitting and opening. And we're opening without judgment, without saying, this thing is wrong and this thing shouldn't be here. Or judging or fighting or resisting. What is life like when we simply open and open and open? What is that like? Now, if we step into ego, we take our aperture and we really zoom it in on one little thing. Like if we turn on the news, we can really reduce this openness into a judgment of what should or should not be, or who's right, who's wrong, who the bad guys are, and this and that. But in this space of satsang, we're here to try to live in a different way. A way where we look at the collective reality and we say, maybe we could try something different. Maybe we could try something different. But in order to try something different, we have to be courageous enough to step out of the collective ego, the collective programming. All this tribal fighting and all that nonsense. And we choose to open. And to see life, experience life from a place, a point of allowing. The ego's whole perspective is a perspective of asserting oneself, guarding oneself, defending oneself, of hiding oneself. But here on the spiritual path, we say, well, what if I try something different? What if I include all of life? That's what space does. Of course, space is one of the primary qualities of enlightenment. It's inclusivity, a total inclusivity. Not like that political inclusivity where we include certain groups and exclude other groups. Our family inclusivity where we include our family but not someone else's family. National inclusivity is like I'm going to include those of my country but not people from other countries. But in true non-duality, the experience is radically inclusive. It's it's beyond inclusivity. It's just there's no walls, only openness, great openness. And the ego will immediately complain and say, but how do I live? How am I supposed to live with all this openness? And it's certainly a strange way to live. It's a strange way. It's radically different than the collective consciousness to live with great openness, to live with great love for all beings, not just for the people in our tribe, but for all beings, even those beings that our tribe disagrees with. We include them, we love them, we honor them, we allow them. In fact, when you're in a state, of true awakening, it's like you don't have to allow anything. Your consciousness, which is big and vast, it cannot not allow. It cannot not allow. It's like beyond inclusivity. And so I thought we'd just start tonight, like each week, a little meditation, but it's nice to practice an open-eyed meditation, to really play with this. When you walk around town, when you're sitting in traffic, when you're at dinner with the family, and just to notice all the space. And that space fully allows, it fully includes without any effort. When we are in our egoic identity, it takes a lot of effort to create space for someone else's opinions or their point of views. I had this funny experience. I had a vacation with the family this week, and I traveled around and was meeting with some people, and it was funny because there were times and there were situations when I was with individuals who, well, I'll be kind of blunt here. They could care less what I said. They could care less what I thought. They talked over me. And for a moment, I noticed like a little bit of my egoic identity start to get offended. But then I thought, well, who am I? Like, why can't they talk? Why can't they talk over me? Of course they can. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. I don't have to be offended. I don't have to be hurt. And some of these people were judging me really harshly, and they're saying mean things behind my back. And then someone told me this, and I was like, oh, like, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny that they think these things. That they think these things. It's kind of funny. Because when we take on a belief in our ego, it's a lot of work to defend our ego. There'd be a lot of people that we would have to go around and correct. There's a lot of people that we would have to be arguing with. But sometimes the further we walk on the path, we realize it's okay. It's okay if people have opinions about us or thoughts about us. I mean, often our mind has opinions about them. And if you just notice again that the space of your mind allows all kinds of thoughts to freely move through your consciousness. And how interesting is that? That the space of your mind is already free. You don't have to do anything to be enlightened. The space of your mind always, already allows any and every thought to arise and pass through your consciousness. And if you see this, if you acknowledge this, if you step into this space and become it, well, it's a beautiful thing. It's so incredibly freeing. But if we don't see the space of our consciousness, it's always already here. But instead, we just see this stream of thoughts, and we identify with the thoughts, agree with the thoughts. Some people are willing to go to battle over their thoughts, go to war. Some people, it's funny, they say they're willing to go to war, but then they're really just scared. They're really just scared. It's like how many people put up, the Ukrainian flag and want to go to war for Ukraine. It's like, do you really want to go to war? Do you know what war is? Because if you saw war, when you see reality, when you experience it, not just in that fantasy of the mind, when you actually experience war, you might have a different thought. You might realize, oh, war is the most horrific thing. But it's interesting. It's interesting how carried away people get with their thoughts. Many of us here have lost family members because our family don't agree with us, or they don't fully support us, or sometimes they gossip behind our back. And these are normal things within a family system, but sometimes we get so offended, and we cut people out of our lives. And of course, there's times when that is psychologically appropriate. And then there's other times when it's like, well, we're probably taking our thoughts or our egoic identity a little too, perhaps far too seriously, taking ourselves far too serious. And so I was really reflecting, as I was, I drove across the big desert yesterday, from California to Colorado. And I was reflecting that, like when you get up into, true middle age, like 50 plus, you really start to reflect on your life. And one of the things I was reflecting on is, well, when we're young on the spiritual path, we get really excited about spiritual experiences and this thing called spiritual awakening and this big thing, called enlightenment. And we get excited in this sense of like, what will spirituality, what will enlightenment give me? What will it give me? What do I get? Do I get to a place where I will never feel pain again? That's what it says in the book. That's what the YouTube guru says. You get to a place where you never feel pain again. It's like, oh boy, I want that. Never suffer again. I want that. And once you get into the later years of spirituality, well, you see that enlightenment is less about big, flashy, wondrous experiences and more about surrender. And again, like the young minds in the group say, okay, if I surrender, then I get the enlightenment thing and then I never feel pain again. It's like, I'm not sure that's how it works. Like, let's look at our friend Jesus. I mean, he certainly experienced pain and suffering. But the pain and the suffering that we surrender, is our own confusion. Our confusion, our ideas, our politics, our dogma, our way, our beliefs, our righteousness. It's rare. It's rare to meet an individual who doesn't believe their own thoughts. Most everyone believes their thoughts. They think they're right. They think they're the king or the queen of the universe. That's the thing that we surrender. And as we surrender it, we're given the gift of space. When you let go of your own thoughts, your own truths, and I have to put quotes there because the things that people call truth are not the truth, are not the truth. And one of the things that I was with was while I was on a vacation here, I was visiting some people and they hated anyone who was driving a Tesla. It was a funny thing. It's a funny thing when liberals start hating people who drive electric vehicles. I mean, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. I understand when liberals hate people who drive big diesel trucks, like all my friends, but, and by all my friends, I mean all my friends are driving the big diesel trucks. But it's a funny thing. Like that part I understand makes sense. When liberals hate people who drive big diesel trucks. But when liberals start hating people who drive Teslas, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. But most of us aren't willing to question our own beliefs. And most of us, we just receive this conditioning from the corporate news media, who happens to be aligned with big pharma and big, warring corporations and political parties that just want endless war and endless fighting and endless tribalism. It's insanity, insanity. But how many of us are willing to look at our beliefs and question them and say, gosh, is it possible that I am wrong? Is it possible that I've made some mistakes here? Is it possible that I could be confused? Is it possible that I've been lied to? That I've been lied to? Is it possible that I have a certain type of conditioning that makes me hate half the country? Is it possible that I could be wrong, that I could be confused? And if we want to be awake beyond just having wonderful spiritual experiences, we're all a fan of having wonderful, big, profound spiritual experiences. But if we want to be awake, we have to be willing to ask, like if we find ourselves in a power struggle, is it possible that my wound is flared up? Is it possible that my wound is sending all these signals and hormones and chemicals throughout my body and getting me all fired up about something that maybe isn't even the truth? That maybe isn't even the truth. Is it possible that I'm wrong? So if we want to be awake, we need to have a clear mind, a clear heart. We must be incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. A lot of people think in order to have a clear mind, we have to have a really airtight, razor sharp philosophy, spiritual philosophical orientation. And while that can be helpful, a lot of times that's a place that people hide out in. It's a little castle that they build around themselves, their philosophy and on life. But if we want to be free, we have to be free from our own philosophy, from our own confusion. And we have to be willing to look around the world and see that I think I'm confused. I think the world as a whole is confused. Our political leaders are obviously confused. And I don't care what party anyone votes for. It's just like we seem to have lunatics, that just run the world, that continually want us to be engaged in warfare with each other. And I am certain, if we went and met the Russians or the Ukrainians or the Palestinians, the Jews, or whoever's fighting, we'd realize these people are not our enemies. These are our brothers and sisters on the path. And they may be confused, and we may be confused. But at some point, waking up, like when I was driving around the state of California, I can tell you, in the state of California, there's a lot of confusion. For some reason in California, they want gas and diesel to be twice the cost as everywhere else in the country, which just seems real crazy to me. But somehow in California, things can be 2 times as much, sometimes 3 times as much. But anyways, when I was driving around in California, I saw there's a lot of confused people. And when I was driving around, I thought I might be one of them. I might be one of them. My family might be one of them. We're driving around, in this wildness of this world. And any sane human, any reasonably awake human, will smile at the human condition and be able to acknowledge, I get confused, you get confused, we get confused. And so let's all relax. Let's all calm down. Let's all relax. Let's all calm down. Let's just allow there to be some space here. And for most of us, when we've been in, some form of romantic relationship, you see this. Sometimes your partner's confused. Sometimes you're confused. Sometimes the child's confused. Sometimes all of us are confused. I was having a conversation the other day with someone, and they thought I was talking about one thing. I thought they were talking about something different. We were having these two conversations that just went like this, Now, somehow, like what we were saying, it kind of clicked and connected in some bizarre altered reality that just led to lots of more confusion. It's just like, and, as a human being, it can be helpful to laugh and to smile and to really come down into the belly. When we come down into the belly, into a place of spiritual depth, we realize it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. Most of us start in our head, and we have our ideas, we have our logic, we have our dogma, our philosophy, whatever it is. We have our way. Who was it? I think it was Frank Sinatra, right? He had my way, did it my way. We all have our way. But of course, we live in this shared space where we have to coexist. And one of the confusing things about this world is that most people don't even live in reality. So we can't even find a shared reality to live in. Most people live in these divisive realities. There's the right reality, the left reality. I mean, hell, you get into California, like sometimes you have the Mexican reality. And it's just like a whole different ecosystem, a whole other culture, a whole other culture. And then at some point I drove through Oakland, and I saw the sign for Chinatown. It's like, okay, like here's a whole nother reality of stepping into this. And one of the mistakes that humans make is we think we live in a shared reality. And in a Zen way, we absolutely do. But no one is awake to the ultimate reality, which in theory would be our shared reality. Everyone's in their own little bubble, their own world of projections. And sometimes when you are awake and you look out at the world and the world is really confused, well, I'll just say this, it's a bizarre experience. Sometimes it causes a great deal of laughter. Sometimes it makes you just, want to pull your hair out like, geez, look at all these people fighting over this one little piece of land. Over this one little piece of land. And so on the path, it's so utterly healing and enlightening to have a clear mind. And in order to have a clear mind, we have to be willing to question our thoughts, our beliefs. We have to be willing to question our information, the information that we are receiving. But to question it, to critically think, like, is this true? what I'm seeing on the screen of the internet, is it true? Or my TV or whatever it is it true? More than likely, it's not. It's some kind of agenda that's being pushed, that's being paid for, that's being pumped into our world. And when we choose to wake up, we step out of the system. And one of the ways Jesus did this is, we forget this, but Jesus was a rabbi. He was a part of a tradition. But he looked at the tradition that he was in, and he said, guys, there's something really wrong here. There's a lot of hypocrisy. And so here's a man who was in a tradition, who was in a context, who was in a culture, and he was willing to say, you know what? There is something wrong with whose culture? Well, it was his own culture. His own culture. There was something wrong with his church. And so at some point he chose to step out of that system, to step away from it. And so when we are awake, we have to have a clear mind. We have to be willing to question our thoughts, question what we think we know. And then, of course, if we're going to include our heart, we have to be willing to question our feelings and what we feel like. What is this feeling I'm having? Most people don't ask this question. Is this feeling true? And the ego always says, oh, yes, it is. I am very angry and this shouldn't have happened. Well, that's not truth. That is not truth. That's how you feel. That's how your ego feels. If we just take a step back, we can say, oh, my ego is offended. And when your ego is offended, well, it's going to look to blame, or it's going to look to hide, or it's going to look to get revenge. Earlier today, I was meeting with someone, and he's a good friend of mine, and he was telling me about how another friend, I thought it was tragic but hilarious too. Another friend tried to get him sent to federal prison. I was like, oh my gosh, a friend, someone I've hung out with a bunch, tried to get another friend sent to federal prison. I'm like, guys, we're all friends here. Like, we're all friends. Did you forget the truth? We're brothers on the path. Did you forget the truth? Did you get carried away? And what happened was one person got really jealous of another person, tried to get him put in jail. I was like, geez, guys, come on. But these things happen. These things happen on the path. Sometimes it happens with family members. They come at us and they try to kill us. I can't tell you how many people I've met who they've had family members try to kill them. Or we've experienced betrayal from a family member. I've even hung out with, old timers before, and, they tell me how their wife tried to kill them. It's just like, all right. People get crazy here on planet Earth. People get crazy. And it's one of the things that the further we walk and the more clear our mind is, you look out and you see how absolutely beautiful this world is. Absolutely beautiful. And then you look at your brothers and sisters and you see, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful and so crazy. So crazy. I did this big drive, across the country, and there's many times I saw people with road rage and, flicking each other off and slamming on the brakes and look like they're ready to start fights. And it's just like, Hey guys, relax, relax. We're all just driving somewhere. It's okay. It's okay. But one of the things that we learn on the spiritual path is we can't control what people say. We can't control what they think. We can't control if they're going to judge us. We can't control if they're going to gossip about us. We can't control what they're going to do to us at any moment. Like I just 2 hours ago, I almost saw a fella on a bicycle, get plowed over by a car. I almost got plowed by that car too. It was dangerous and hit from behind. It was one of those crazy just moments in this world. And at some point, like as we wake up, we realize life is too short to be fighting. Life is too short to fight against our brothers and sisters. It's too short. There's already enough suffering. And so we choose, like Christ, to forgive. So my friend who I was with today, he was telling me about the other friend who was trying to put him in federal prison. I said, okay, like let's see if we can work with forgiveness. Let's see if we can work with forgiveness, cooling the flames of anger. And the thing about the heart is if you get the heart riled up with pain and suffering and it mixes with the mind, and then the mind can spin a story of I'm justified in my anger, I'm justified to get revenge, I'm justified to lash out or whatever it is. But we see that this dance, this dance of fighting, well, it becomes like Israel and Palestine. Like ever since I was a kid, there's been fighting between the Jews and the Muslims. Just all this fighting. In fact, before I was a kid, whenever Israel became a country back in I think it was the 1940s or 1948 or something like that. But anyway, it's just so much fighting. At some point, who is going to put down the sword? Who will put it down? Now, the righteous one will say, no, you put your sword down first, then I'll put mine down. The awake one says, I'll put mine down first. I will forgive. I will extend an olive branch. I will choose kindness. I will choose compassion. I will choose to love those people that wear those red hats. What does the red hat say on it? Make America great again. Can we forgive someone if they wear a red hat that says make America great? Can we forgive that person? Now, 2 blocks away from me, we have a little rec center. And one of my neighbors, she was in there and she has breast cancer. And her doctor said, hey, I need you to go and work out. I need you to get your white blood cell count up or whatever it is that happens when you work out and get your immune system going again. And this lady was in there. She didn't even have a Make America Great hat. Her hat was Make America Healthy Again, the RFK hat. RFK, who's a lifelong Democrat, by the way. Well, she was in there and she's an old lady with breast cancer. And this young fella came up and started attacking her and screaming at her, telling her she was a demonic person for wearing this hat and destroying the planet and all these things. And she's like, damn, I'm just trying to just trying to work out. I'm just trying to work out. I'm just trying to get over breast cancer. Like, please, like we have enough suffering on planet Earth. Enough suffering. Enough suffering. At some point, if we want to be awake, We have to forgive our neighbors for being who they are, for being loud and obnoxious. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. We have to have a clear mind and ask ourselves, if we're attacking an old lady on a treadmill, it's like, maybe I need to stop watching so much CNN. Maybe I need to chill out a little bit. And if we're on the other end of the spectrum, there are those guys that drive the big diesel trucks and that blow, diesel smoke in the protesters' faces. Like, well, maybe we need to stop watching so much news too. Like, maybe we need to stop pouring gas on the fire. Maybe we need to relax and learn to accept, learn to love, learn to forgive. One of the other things I saw was, I visited with this family, and I noticed that this family played this game where no one said what they thought. They said all these, it's like they were speaking in a secret language, all of them, all the time. It's like the language of codependency. So everyone was guessing what the other person was saying and speaking in reference to what they thought the other person was thinking. And it was like, I don't know how to communicate like this. I don't know how to be in a situation like this where there's all these unspoken rules, all this unspoken language, all these unspoken games. But the games were being played out. And to me, I just like, it's like, let's just say, like if you want something, like say you want something. Like speak your truth, live your truth. But a lot of people on planet Earth are afraid to live in the truth. And so instead we play games. We play games. And we work with manipulation. And we read into people's energy and do all this, like this silly dance of codependency that turns into just a big mess, a big confusing mess. But when we step back into this spacious reality, we look out at the world, again, we see what a beautiful world this is. We come to realize that our consciousness, there's room for our consciousness to be here. We do not need to be afraid. We don't need to manipulate. We don't need to play all these silly games, all these power games or pecking order games. This happens around gurus too. I've seen this around gurus where there's a whole pecking order and power struggle around the guru. And I was, it's funny, I was gone for a week, but I met with so many people. I met with someone from this big Buddhist organization here in Colorado, and the teacher had gotten old, and he was going to pick his successor, but right before he chose a successor, all this scandal came out, and there was all this in-house fighting with who was going to take over control, and it looked like it looked like something that we would have seen in the political arena. There's people backstabbing and stepping on each other and throwing each other under the bus, and because they wanted power in the spiritual dimension. They wanted to take over Guruji's, students. And when I look out at the world, like one of the things that I hope happens in this Sangha is we see that there is a place for all of us to shine, a place for all of us to be a star, a place for all of us to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged. to stand in your truth and to share your gifts with the world. In the olden days, it was this thing would happen where there would be, one guru, one teacher, whatever, and one successor. My hope is that in the modern age, we wake up as a Sangha, as a community. We see that there is a place for each of us to shine, each of us to share our gifts, to share our beauty, to share our divinity. Because each of us are unique, are special, are different, have their own gift. It's my great hope, it's my great prayer that each of you live your highest life. Your highest life, your highest truth. But in order for us to do this, again, we have to have a clear mind, a clear and loving heart. And we must be incredibly strong. And so this is an awakening here. It's the awakening of the mind, the awakening of the heart, the awakening of the gut. The awakening of the gut is an interesting one because it normally wakes up by way of walking through fire. By way of walking through fire. And coming out of the other side of the fire and realizing, oh, it didn't kill me. It did not kill me. This thing called life did not kill me. The psychological wounds, this trauma did not kill me. This kundalini shakti did not kill me. This overwhelming, disorienting, falling away of the egoic identity, it didn't kill this. It may have killed, it may have destroyed some aspect of the ego identity, but that's the whole point of spiritual awakening. And I can tell you, I was, I did so much just in a week. I was up in Ukiah for a moment. That's in Northern California. And, I was driving down the highway. And, I passed this temple. There's a Buddhist temple there. And it's called the, I want to call it the land, but it might be called the city of the 10,000 Buddhas. It might be called the temple of the 10,000 Buddhas. Maybe that's what it's called. And so God told me to turn around. I passed the exit and I said, okay, let's turn around, let's go. And I rolled in there, and this temple of the 10,000 Buddhas, it is the city. Okay, thank you. Anne's correcting me. The city of the 10,000 Buddhas. So the city of the 10,000 Buddhas. And I pulled onto the campus there, and it was kind of an old rundown place. And let me tell you, the weather when I was in California was just terrible. It's like cold and rainy almost all the days till about Thursday. But anyways, so I'm there and it's cold and it's rainy and the wind's howling and this and that. But I was like, well, let me just go check out the temple there. And, the person at the help desk said, hey, you can just stand in the back. They're having a little ceremony there. And so I got there, and my plan was to stand in the back. But, as I was walking in, this old nun, she kind of just waved me forward and put me in the line. And, 3 hours later, I'm, meditating with them and chanting and part of the ceremony. And there was just an immense amount of love. Immense amount of love. When we open in the heart, of course, it's all about love. And it's so beautiful. So beautiful. It was so extraordinary. If anyone gets a chance, I'm going to encourage you to go visit the city of the 10,000 Buddhists. But the city of the 10,000 Buddhists was an old state mental hospital. And normally, if you think about visiting an old mental hospital, like we're probably going to think about ghosts and like this creepy old place. But the beautiful thing about the city of the 10,000 Buddhas is they took this old mental hospital, which is, I'm sure there were so many people struggling with demons and, trauma and abuse and just, mental illness, affliction, chaos of the mind. A lot of heavy energies there. But every day, the monks and nuns are meditating and they're chanting. You set foot on the campus and it feels like a heaven realm. It feels like a heaven realm. This is what spiritual awakening is about. Us doing the work of transformation. What is the work of transformation? It's the work of questioning your own thoughts. The work of forgiving those who have hurt you. The work of looking inside and having an absolute faith that love is the way. That love is the way. And the city of the 10,000 Buddhas is a living example of this. A living example. A living example of taking a space that was once full of demons and confusion and affliction and trauma and despair, and turning it into a center of light, a center of love, a place that shines brilliantly into this most confused world. And so anyways, if anyone has a question, I'll take some questions. And someone emailed me a ridiculously long question here about kundalini. And I'm going to encourage you, if you send me a question, please make them short for the sake of my brain. I have to say this, my mind is becoming increasingly more and more spacious and empty. And so my ability to hold on to read through long emails is becoming more and more difficult. So forgive me, but I need things to be stupid simple for this one here. Okay, let's hear from Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Let's see. I think I can do stupid and simple. Um,
Kyle, did
to
you get yourself some sunshine?
yeah, like on the ski hill. Yeah.
Yeah, you look like you got cooked, huh?
Yeah, I have that goggle kind of like look.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a car honking out there. So to continue my conversation with you during our last session, um, we were talking about like what one finds at the crown chakra. So I want to know like the hierarchy a little bit more. You're talking about Divine Mother, other gods and goddesses, archangels, etc. I want to know more about like what's up there.
Well, come on now. You just listed it. Now let's put one above Divine Mother, even though I mean it's a silly thing to take heaven and to cut it into pieces. But that's one of the things that God has done, so we don't need to think too much about it. But from one perspective, it's all God. It's all God. But there's realms and realms, of heaven worlds. And of course, there just seems to be a natural hierarchy here in creation, even though everything is all one. in the end. That's the thing that we get confused about, is it's all God. Now, if we started at the top, we'd say, well, what's at the top? Well, the great absolute. The absolute. Now, if we are a Buddhist, we might call this, prajna paramita. It's like the land before anything happened. Before anything happened. And so the Buddhists called this the great prajna paramita, pregnant with all phenomena. And so in the absolute, and again, like we like to think in terms of hierarchy, and this is where it's like as soon as we start talking about the heaven realms, and we start dividing them up, and you see me like I'm making this like tiered approach. It's like it's all the absolute. The absolute is in our cells, it's in our goodness, it's in our angst, it's in our fear, it's in the space, it's in non-space. And so the absolute, of course, is everywhere and everything. But out of the absolute come these two great qualities. The divine Father, which is more like, which is real similar to the absolute, great spacious emptiness. And the divine Mother, being the creator, and out of her, I like just to imagine just like, if you've seen, in the olden days, they used to have these goddesses. I like to call it the Earth Mother Goddess. She has her head, and then she has her bosom, which is much wider, and then she has her like hips, and she's sitting, and it's even wider. But then like her hips and her legs just merge into the earth. And so out of the Divine Mother, well, comes all of creation. All of creation. Now we could quickly go into earthly creation, because that's what the Divine Mother creates, earthly creation. But out of the Divine Mother comes all the heaven realms. And one of the higher heaven realms is going to be the realms of the gods. And what are the gods? The gods are just almost like crystallized energies of the divine. It's like skanda, the energy of light. Energy of light. Whereas the Christ, again, is very similar to the absolute, but the Christ is the energy of light mixed with love, mixed with tenderness. And I see it has like a sweet component to it. And so, in the realm of the gods, we could have, Ganesh or Lakshmi and, all these other great beings. And underneath the realm of the gods are the ascended masters. And it's like, my God, the ascended masters can have all kinds of qualities. Like one of the ascended masters in this lineage is Sri Aurobindo. And Aurobindo is very similar to the force of the Divine Mother, in that he is this force of evolution, of creation, mixed with this pressure for evolution to continue to evolve and to grow and to expand into greater and greater manifestations of light. Whereas, if you feel into, say, the Ascended Master, like Ramana Maharshi, his energy is very sweet and tender, but also clear and empty, like the Buddha. And so you see there's a whole realm of Ascended Masters. And oh my gosh, how many Ascended Masters are there? There's countless. Countless. And then mixed in there are the angelic entities, angelic beings. And then, of course, at some point come the human beings. Now, many traditions acknowledge that the angelic beings actually bow before and are the servants to the human beings. Because humans, we're a unique creature. because it is said that we are stronger, or at least more courageous than angels, because we can actually come and live on earth. Where angels are just purely light beings. It's like they don't have the solidity or the strength to live on planet earth. They can kind of weave in and out. But I have to be careful what I say. I don't want to say they're not strong enough, but there's many stories of angels bowing before humans, saying, you are the ones who are strong enough to live in this chaotic world. And so the angels are here actually to serve us. Of course, the Divine Mother is here to serve us. Now, often, something I don't speak about, it's our job is to worship them as well. And so the beautiful thing about these realms is, it's very similar. It's just a life here on planet Earth. Everything here on planet Earth eventually gets composted. And out of the compost, grows something new and something beautiful. And then that beautiful thing gets composted, back into the soil. And by that, I mean, just there is an evolution, but also there's this oneness and there's this unity throughout all of life. Now, some people, come from heaven realms that are close to the earth, like the shamanic traditions. These are realms that come that are even experienced on the earth, like coinciding here on the earth plane. Whereas, other individuals who study and, I'd like to use the word higher, but I don't want it to come off offensive, but like some of the yogic traditions, the Buddhist traditions, or the Christian mystic tradition, all come from very high, holy heaven realms. And it doesn't mean that the shamanic realms are anything worse or less. It's just, this is a world, this is a realm where we grow through evolution, where we evolve through evolution. And for me, like all of this is fine and dandy, but I always just look at, well, what is my next step on the path? What's my next step? Now, when I was with my teacher, like sometimes he would take me to heaven realms that were so bright, like some of the realms that Hilda came from, my teacher's teacher. Like she was right on the edge of the absolute. So when we go up into her realm, it's very hard to even maintain consciousness there because it's so bright, it's so fiery, it's so intense. You feel like you're being burned alive the higher and higher you go. If you get into some of the shamanic realms can feel like you're in the jungle and like there's a puma or a panther or a snake or something that might, eat you up. And it can feel, more like being in the wilderness. If you go to, some of the like realms of the different saints, like Saint Francis or Saint Clare, or, whoever it is, you'll see that there's whole schools here where you can go and study for a period of time. And so again, I always like just to look at, like, to keep it real simple. What is my next step on the path? And, when you sit down and meditate, you can set the intention to connect with some of these higher beings. And you see that, some yogis will chant the name of Ganesh, some will chant the name of Shiva. Here in this Sangha, we chant the name of Skanda. And we open to these realms of light. And so this is something that you can play around with and begin to receive a transmission from these heaven realms. And the more time you spend there, the more those realms become the more these realms merge into your consciousness. And this is where we can really benefit. Because again, like I don't like to teach about hierarchies because it can come off as a little elitist and divisive. But the way I was taught, the way David worked with me was we'd open to a realm, for a period of time, maybe a period of months, and spend some time there receiving the transmission from this realm. And, I'm always doing this within the Sangha anyways. It's like I'll open to something and invite this realm to flow through. And the more time you spend here, the more you plug into it, you might see that different energies come at different times. Even like this last retreat, we had on stillness and on awake awareness. And so we might focus on that for a period of time. Right now, just with it being the season of Lent, I'm inviting everyone to work with forgiveness and surrendering that which isn't good for you, surrendering that which isn't serving you. But there's a holy realm that we're plugged into. Now, we're always plugged into the realm of the Divine Mother, just her absolute realm. And so, I like to plug into the Divine Mother, but again, underneath the Divine Mother is going to be Skanda and different masters like Aurobindo and such that we'll plug into and we'll receive from. We'll receive from. And sometimes, teachers make this criticism, well, that you can get really lost in these realms. And you can if you're just chasing experiences. But for me, it's never about chasing experiences. It's about embodying the truth of these higher realities. But the cost of admission, into these higher realms is we have to surrender ourselves. We have to surrender our beliefs. We have to surrender everything we think we know. We have to surrender our dogma. Sometimes we just have to surrender our confusion. It's just like some people, like I can remember I spent years of my life just going back and forth. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Is it this way or that way? This way or that way? It's just, and at some point I just woke up and said, this is just confusion. This is the realm of confusion that I'm in. I need to surrender this realm of confusion. I need to surrender this realm of thinking, dualistic thinking. And when you step out of dualistic thinking, it's a whole other way to live. But almost everyone on planet Earth says, is it this or that? Is it right or is it left? Is it right or is it left? Is it right or is it left? What if it was neither? What if it was neither? What if it's both and? What if there's a whole other consciousness that we can open into? And as we study the heaven realms, as we study the majesty of God, as soon as you open, you see, oh my Lord, I thought I knew something, but I don't know anything in comparison to this huge reality. This huge reality that is before us. And this huge reality is just waiting for us to stop and to open and say, I'm willing to learn something new, something different than how I have been. But in order to learn something new in the divine realms, we have to empty out first. In the human realms, what we learned is it's just built upon the next thing. It's like when you study math, it's just all this built on top of each other. But in the divine realms, we learn through being empty, through receiving the transmission itself. Like I could talk all day long about, Shiva consciousness, the Shiva realm. But the best way to experience Shiva realm is to be empty and to open and to let Shiva show you directly. Like when you were running, Skanda showed you directly. This is what I am. But sometimes we think as a spiritual being, oh no, Skanda can only come when I'm meditating or when I'm chanting the name of Skanda. Well, Skanda can come and show you his glory when you're out going for a run on the Animus River. and flood you with his glory. It's like, well, how beautiful is that? So sometimes, oftentimes, these new heaven realms come to me at unexpected times. And that's the beauty of it, is that when we allow ourselves to be empty and we open up, God starts to come into us and it becomes effortless. And for me, it's like, well, who should direct Craig's path? Should this human egoic identity direct Craig's path? Or does this human egoic identity want to surrender oneself and say, God, you direct me. You direct me. Now, of course, I'm going to choose this option because I know the Divine Mother is the intelligence of all of creation. So I'm going to open to her and let her direct me. Her direct me. I may have a thought, what are the heaven realms like? And how does the hierarchy work? And this and that. But I say, God, you show me the next thing I need to learn. I need to know. I need to experience. You show me the next thing I need to let go of so I can open my heart more fully to you. So anyways, I hope there was something helpful there for you, God. Yeah. Okay. We'll hear from Johan. Johan, are you here?
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Johan.
Hey,
Good to see you.
it's good to see you too. What you just shared with Kyle was kind of also kind of answered some of my question, but I've been experiencing some confusion and difficulty related to my meditation practice and just spirituality lately, and I feel a bit like I fell off the train of awakening.
Yeah.
And yeah, my meditation has been a bit wonky, and I notice, is it this or that kind of energy coming? Like, how do I meditate? Should I focus here on my breath? Should I do that? And I'm experiencing some of
Yeah.
that kind of.
So Johan, that's the thing I was speaking about earlier, letting go of confusion. Now listen, my friend, pick a point, your head, your heart, your belly, and just focus there. Open there. Rest there. And see what happens. See what happens. So your mind will get bored. We all know this as meditators. We pick a point, and 35 seconds later, the mind is like thinking about ice cream. It's thinking about work. It's making a list of things we need to do. It's doing its dance. And what do? We come back to our breath and whatever point it is. If we have a busy mind, like you have a busy mind, so it's going to be beneficial for you to have a point in the heart or down in the belly. Like the belly is probably the safest place because it's far from all this mental activity. So if we have a busy mind, like I'm going to meditate right in the belly. And I'm going to open there. And the thing about meditation is we have to do some work. And doing work with meditation means we sit and we breathe. We stay focused. We sit, we breathe, and we stay focused. It's not really too much work, but we need to be anchored in one point. And I like to think of with a meditation practice, I like to think in terms of months. So I'm going to meditate in the hara for the next 3 months. I'm just going to be focused there. Now the heart may light up, the mind may light up, the whole body may light up, but just my focus or my anchor is going to be in the hara for 3 months before I have a thought, should I meditate in the head, focusing on the tip of my nose. And if I did choose the tip of the nose, it's the tip of the nose for 3 months, bare minimum. Because the thing about us is we have these busy minds and with YouTube, and there's like 10,000 different types of meditation on YouTube and all these different spiritual teachers. You can just kind of spend your life just kind of like running and chasing new methods and teachers and this and that. Like, one of the funnest ones that I was looking into for a while was, who was it? The Monroe Institute, and this was like communicating with aliens. It's just like, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out. And, their whole thing is just getting you out of body. And, again, it's like, if you do that, let's do that for 3 months, if that's your thing. If that's your thing. Now, in this Sangha in particular, so we are a head, heart, gut Sangha, right? Like, primarily. Now I'll go through the 7 chakras, of course, but head, heart, gut. So we pick a point, we stay there, but we're also simultaneously opening to grace. And so we're inviting the Divine Mother to participate with us, maybe to meditate through us. And so we start with this human approach of picking a point, let's say in the belly, and we're focused here, we're breathing here, our consciousness is here, but there's just this gentle upward, openness toward the descent of grace from the Divine Mother. And so for me, it's like, I think I've meditated for something like 40 years now, but let's say maybe 36 years. When my teacher taught me this of being rooted in the belly and opening to grace flowing into me, it's like, I can meditate this way for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. Because it's so dynamic. It's you pick a point that's just to maintain a steady consciousness and to open to your true nature. And then we welcome grace to flow down into us. And this grace is dynamic, it's stimulating. And, in reference like to our human egoic mind, our human egoic mind can be in awe of grace. Whereas if you just focus on, the tip of your nose or your belly, the human mind is probably going to get bored, and it's probably going to need something, to keep it busy, like a mantra or like a visualization. But again, like in this tradition, we meditate in the belly, we open ourselves, and this grace comes. And as the grace comes, it opens all the centers, it opens the body, and we go from there. And so, how have you been meditating, Johan?
Well, lately it's I'm sitting, and I've been playing around. Like I was doing kind of, I was very steady for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the last like 2 or 3 months, things are shifting in my life, and it's like it gets really busy, and it's also like, oh, maybe I would benefit more from doing some more movement. And so I kind of tried that a little bit, but I don't know, it seems like my meditation have been a little bit foggy and kind of without clear intent. But it's like I felt like I have a lot of commitment to put somewhere, but I just need God to show me. I had this kind of like I know I have.
Well, every great master, throughout history normally had like one kind of style of meditation, and they would just do that one style for their lifetime. And there's just something that that builds a real strength of character and a depth if you just pick one type of practice and you just stick with it. And you stick with it. Now, by all means, I'm going to say if you want movement, we do the one meditation practice. And in addition, we're going to do some movement. We're going to do some movement. Like, I'm a huge fan of yoga, but for me, it's going to be meditation every single day. Yoga, you know, as many days a week as I can. You know, and there's times when I totally let go of the yoga, and there's times when I pick it up again and do lots of yoga. But the thing that is consistent is the one meditation every single day. And because of that, it builds a strength of character. It creates a really deep well. The way, like, you know, my Zen teacher, Adyashanti, used to speak, is he'd say, well, like if you try like a bunch of different types of meditation, you know, it's like if you're going to dig a well, you know, it's like digging 100 little wells, you know, 1-foot wells. You're not going to strike water. But if you just pick one practice and just go deep with it, you're going to hit water. If you want to be awake, it's like, let's meditate every day in the belly, in the heart, opening, just keeping it simple. The mind will get bored. There'll be times when there'll be dry periods. There'll be times when it's really hard. If we just stick with it, eventually, you know, we'll strike water. And we'll say, oh, thank God. Thank God. Thank God. But if we're just running around trying all these different things, we might, you know, like if you ever meet a healer who's got like 35 letters after their name, you know, it's just like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. Reiki master level 6 and, you know, polarity therapist, Pleiadian channel, you know, naturopathic healer, massage therapist, you know, it's like cranial set. It's like there's so many letters after their name, but it's like, hey, like what are you good at? Like which one do you have great proficiency at? You know, and some people just like to have the smorgasbord of things, but you see, but then they lack depth. And here on this path, like in the realm of awakening, you know, again, if you just look at the great masters throughout history, they just found a way, and it's just like, I'm just going to sit and open in silence. I'm not going to engage the mind. I'm not engaging the emotions. I'm just going to open. I'm just going to open. And I'm going to trust in this practice. And so sometimes if we have an active mind, the very act of meditation is an act of whipping our mind into shape. You're telling the mind, hey, you're in the back seat. You know, the truth is in the front seat. I'm just focusing on the truth. I'm just breathing in my belly. I'm going to see what happens. Okay. So you work with that, Johan. So good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right. Is Kyle raising his hand again? Am I crazy here?
I'm still not getting links, so he had to send me the link.
Oh, okay. Hey, Lauren.
Hey.
That was confusing for me.
Sometimes I'm Ann, sometimes I'm Kyle. It doesn't.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, look, I'm so sorry. There's something with Zoom. There's like been 3 people in the Sangha who have real trouble with Zoom getting the link. And I have no idea what that's about. Yeah. So what's going on with you? Where are you at?
Pennsylvania still.
Okay, you're in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah. For now. Yeah, I just
last time I saw you, you were in California. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed this dance that God has always done with me, and I'm noticing just this pattern, this theme throughout my life where she'll put pressure on me to do something that's on paper insane. And like it seems irresponsible or just irrational or crazy, and there's this pressure.
The truth is irrational, crazy, irresponsible, but the truth is the truth. And if you follow it, life will work out in an amazing way.
Yeah.
And so this is the spiritual path, it's for you to follow the truth despite what your mind thinks about it. You know, when I was young, I met my teacher and he said, "Hey, I got a job for you digging holes on a hillside, $8 an hour." I was like, "I'll take it. I'll take it. $8 all day." You know, my parents said, "Come home, and you could make whatever, upwards of 100K a year." What's the rational thing? Go home, be safe, be with the family, take over the family business, have money. I chose to be poor, broke, you know, and really struggling, in this little mountain town. But the truth was for me to stay with my teacher. And it made no sense to anyone. I had all kinds of people make fun of me, talk behind my back, belittle me, tell me I was a fool, I was an idiot, this, that. But I saw the truth and I couldn't stay away from it. The truth has a magnetism, it has a pull to it. And I don't know, like, if I'm on my deathbed, I'll happily walk into heaven after living a life of truth. But I'm not going to be a person say, "Gosh, I wish I stayed here on earth and made more money." It's like, I wish I was more rational. Like, people aren't saying that, in the nursing home. They're saying, "I wish I loved more. I wish I loved more." So this is how it's always been. That God will ask us to do something that seems crazy from the perspective of the ego. But I'll tell you that once you get on the truth train, you see, like, this is where it's at. This is where it's happening. This is where our life really takes off. And this is where God will support us. But I will say this, because often the first time we get on the truth train, God won't support us right away. God will see, do they have the courage to stay on the train? And if you do, support will come. Support will come. But most people get on the truth train for a couple minutes and then, like, this is weird, or this is scary, or the tribe says, "Hey, come back here." And we go back to the tribe. And then we live by the laws of the tribe. But the invitation here is to live by the laws of God. The laws of God. This is God's universe. To me, it makes sense. If we're going to do the most rational thing, I'm going to follow the laws of God, the laws of creation, not the laws of man. And when you step out of the laws of man, you'll find yourself with a really active, agitated, fearful, doubting mind. And that's one of the tantric doorways. It's one of the costs, one of the prices for admission into the land of truth, is to let go of the doubting Thomas that all of us have been gifted with. I'm sorry, Lauren, I cut you off. Is there more there? Am I on the right track here?
Yeah, there's a lot more. I was gonna say it's I feel like it's slowly, because when this first started happening, I had a lot of doubt and a lot of resistance. This was a couple years ago when this pressure first started, and I feel like now I'm finally in a place where as soon as I feel that pressure, I just do it.
Good.
And it's like I keep jumping off the building and the net keeps appearing. And I met with a group of friends today that I hadn't seen in a few months, and they had no idea about any of the stuff that's been going on. And I was just casually telling them in conversation, they're like, "That's insane." "You're insane." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Yeah. From the collective reality, the tribe will call all of us insane. They will. And it's true from a relative perspective. Like, it's true, we are insane compared to normal human beings. It's true. It's true. But what kind of truth do we want to live in? Do we want to live in egoic truth or divine truth? Yeah, so I'm just going to cheer you on. I'm going to say, keep jumping. And like you said, it's like, and then the net appears. Now, if we're good Christians, we'd call that faith. We call that faith. If we were Rastas, what would we say? Jah will provide. Jah will provide. Yeah, and it happens. It happens. Yeah. Yeah. So more?
I think that's it. And I just want to add just how grateful I am for that.
Yeah. Lauren, let me tell you, it is good to see you smile. It's good to see you smile. So you enjoy it. Enjoy the truth. And there's something that's just inherently exciting about a life of truth. This life of just jumping off the building and realizing, oh, a net arises. We're safe. God's got my back. God's got me. We can jump. And as we do this, we begin to recognize that Earth starts to look more and more like a heaven realm. You'll literally see this creation morph before your eyes when you have faith. And when you have doubt, it's like, okay, what happens when we doubt? Well, all kinds of crazy things happen and just nothing seems to work out. And, everything falls apart and this and that. And eventually, like, God pushes us in the direction of truth, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not, God's going to push us in the direction of truth. And so I say, well, let's go with it. Let's jump, like you're jumping, like you're jumping. So anyways, well, beautiful, beautiful. So nice to have you here. Yeah. Okay. Boy, it's late. I'm just going to do this just because someone emailed in and they're from Croatia and they need a little help here. Let's see here. Well, I think this just isn't, it's just not the right question for right now. So I'm going to do this one later. Okay, let's do this together as a sangha. Let's close our eyes. And let's just start with a gentle acknowledgement of gratitude for our Creator, for our homes, for our lives, for our hearts, for this opportunity to come together in the light as a sangha, to share in the truth. So let us begin just with a sense of gratitude. Thank you, God. Thank you for this beautiful planet, the mountains, the oceans, and the rivers, and the streams, the deserts, the plains. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for our beautiful hearts, which are made of the fabric of God. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful heart. We ask you, Lord, to give us the strength to live the truth, to live the light, to live this love. We ask that all human beings be flooded with light, with love, with compassion, with kindness, to share their fellow human beings, our brothers and sisters here on planet Earth. We ask that the whole consciousness of planet Earth and the environment of this earth be protected, be honored, be loved, be restored. May all of humanity, all beings be uplifted. May peace triumph. May war cease. May humanity learn to live in harmony with the laws of the divine, now and forevermore. And so much love to each of you. Deep bow of respect. Thank you for sharing your heart with me tonight, this day. Deep love and respect to each of you. Good night, everyone. See you next time.